And that's really cool. And so, we started we're on spirit time, so we'll go a little bit long. So, Ann, you've got your time. Don't worry about that. We're resetting clocks soon anyway, so it doesn't matter.
What's time anyway?
Yeah, in Native American ceremonies, they always say, it's like, oh, spirit time. It's like, well, when are we starting? Oh, spirit time.
Right.
Which could be a 4 to 5 hour swing. So yes. So, welcome, Reverend Ann.
There's a Hawaiian time.
Well, that's a good thing, because I'm a lot of times on Hawaiian time. So, from the first time that I went to Hawaii, I found out what Hawaiian time was. And, I also,
Seriously?
the company that I work for, I noticed that a lot of people show up about 5 minutes late for meetings, and so we started calling that Adobe time. So there's a lot of different times that are out there, and we just kind of go by those. And just wanted to take a brief second. Like when 9/11 happened 15 years ago, it was very interesting to me because I do not watch the news, okay? And I was at home waiting for a plumber to show up at my house, and I was getting a little impatient, and I called the plumber, and I said, "Where the heck are you?" And he's going, "Turn on the TV, turn on the TV, don't you know what's going on, don't you know what's going on, the towers. And I sat there for a second, kind of dumbfounded, and I said, "Well, frankly, no, I don't know what's going on because I don't watch the news." And he said, "Turn on the TV." I turned it on, and there was our beautiful Reverend Janet Childs on television, telling people and talking to first responders and talking to the families of loving your children, loving your families, hold on to one another. Here's how you can survive through this. Here's how you can deal with this. And I was so, that's when it started sinking into me what was happening and how this was just a day that there's no comparison to what has happened in our beautiful country ever that I can think of, at least not here. I mean, war happens, but we've always been a safe haven here. And Janet, I was so grateful that you were there because you helped me stay calm as I discovered what was happening. So thank you so much for that. And then a friend of mine called me from work and said, "Don't come into the office today because they're evacuating us. We're the tallest building in San Jose, and we just don't know what's going on." So I got to stay home the rest of the day, but it wasn't an amazing day. There was a lot of prayer, a lot of love being sent, a lot of calling people that you love. I have a lot of friends that live in New York, and being in touch with people. So that was very, very important. And but today is also a day that is. I have at least 3 friends who have birthdays today.
What?
So Julie Hawkins and Reverend Brenda Stern.
Yes.
And Reverend Lynn Rogers. Their
That's right.
birthdays are all today. So whether they're not here today doesn't matter because we send them love and energy for their birthday.
Yes.
Right.
But my birthday was 2 days ago.
Yay!
I turned 60. Woo-hoo! Let's hear it for 60. Don't I though?
Yes,
I'm telling
you
you,
did.
thank you so
To
much.
celebrate.
And I went to prison to celebrate.
You got to put money on your
It
books.
was a lot of fun. We went to Alcatraz. And so Jan and Kat and I went to Alcatraz. And so I announced on my Facebook page that for my 60th birthday I was going to jail. And I love that Carolyn said, "Give me your numbers, I'll put some money on
I
your
said,
books."
send me your info. I got money on your books.
Yeah. But I don't know how many people study numerology, and I wish I knew more about numerology. But September 9th this year was an extremely, extremely powerful day.
Yes,
and
it
I think
was.
especially for me, because I had a quadruple 9.
Wow.
It was a 9 personal day, a 9 personal year, a 9 universal day, and a 9 universal year.
Whoa.
Talk about wrapping things up. Exactly, Carolyn.
Holy moly.
And as I started the day, I gave a prayer to myself of letting go of all that doesn't serve me and opening up to the good that there is. And I'm sorry, Jan and Kat, I spent a lot of the day with my nose in Facebook because I got over 150 happy birthday wishes.
Wow.
what a way to begin anew and recognize
Wow.
the beauty that we all are. And so,
Beautiful.
you know, I'm very thankful and very grateful for that. And I'm still getting happy birthday wishes today, which is kind of cool. So, you know, it just goes on and on.
Yeah.
But it's a lovely time. And
May I offer, Ms. Annie?
yes, ma'am.
This is a beautiful way to use Facebook, to give and receive love.
That's right.
This is a good use of Facebook.
Yes.
This is a good use.
And that's what I use it for. If I don't have
Exactly.
something nice to say,
Exactly.
I might have a gripe and I'll go, okay, gripe over, and then I get on to saying something positive about it. If I can't say something positive, I don't put it on Facebook. When I'm having a bad day, I look for good things to say. If I can't find it, I ignore it. Because that's, to me, social media is about, I'm reuniting with so many friends that I have from around the world. I'm a terrible letter writer. I don't write letters, I don't have pen pals. You know, so what a great time for me and so many new friends. And just day before yesterday or yesterday, I hooked up with some people that I knew in high school that were really good friends, and they finally found them on Facebook, and they're like, one of them's going to call me later this afternoon. We haven't talked in years. He was my husband, and now he has a husband. So when we were in high school, we used to play family, you know. So he came to me and he said, you know, will you be? Can I be your can I be your husband? And I said, sure, you know. So John was my husband, and we had this play family. It was really wonderful, and. So when I started looking at his pictures online, I went, and my husband now has a husband. It's wonderful.
Devin, careful, please.
So today's talk is really about life's little lessons, and I just want to sing a quick line really quick from one of my favorite songs. I think you guys have heard me sing this song before, but I'm just going to sing it really quick. It goes, you ask me where to begin. Am I so lost in my sin? You ask me where did I fall? I'll say I can't tell you when. But if my spirit is lost, how will I find what is near? Don't question, I'm not alone. Somehow I'll find my way home. I always have found my way home, regardless of anything. And today's talk is about the fact that when my eldest niece graduated college, and I was too lazy to go out and buy a paper card, too busy, too lazy, whatever you want to call it, I actually got up onto Facebook and I sent her a message, and I said, you know, telling Jessica how proud I was of her and that I was very pleased to see that she was graduating from college and how I wished I could have been there. And on there, I found some personal messages that she and I had passed back and forth about 3 years before that, when she was just finishing up high school. She was doing a project, and her project was about what was life like, what is life like after you leave high school, from ages 17 to 19. So she asked me 3 basic questions. She says, I want you to give me a synopsis, 100% honest, don't hold anything back, of what your life was like between the ages of 17 and 19. And then, tell me, what did you regret, or what would you do differently? And then the third question was, what have you learned from life that you can't get out of a book? And I found myself rereading these words that I had written to her, and it brought me to tears. And I thought, wow, I used to be really smart. I wonder what happened. No, I'm just kidding. This is really amazing stuff, you know. And so just to give a little bit, okay, so I was always a super hyper responsible kind of person. I was handed responsibilities at a very young age. When, you know, my father passed away when I was 5, my mother remarried and divorced when I was 13. When she had to go to work, I had to take over taking care of my younger siblings. And I adore my sister and brother, but it was very strange to have my kid brother walk in the door from school and go, Ann, I'm home, you know. And I had made up my mind that I did not want children. I was in some ways I was very resentful. I was angry. I felt as though I did not have the freedom that a lot of teenagers have. I had to deal with a lot of, being at home while mom went out or taking care of things. And probably it wasn't and looking at it now, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't horrible. My mom gave me a lot of freedoms that a lot of teenagers didn't get. But I still had anger. I still had resentment. I would like to see anybody raise their hand that says, I never had a single resentment in my teenage world. Okay? Anybody? Oh, I don't see a single hand going up. Okay, so, I had a lot of anger. How did I spend that time? I don't know. When I wasn't babysitting, or even sometimes when I was, my mother would do things like she'd buy Spinata and 7-Up, right? And she'd tell me that after the kids went to bed, Spinata is like a wine cooler kind of stuff. After the kids went to bed, I was allowed to have my friends over and we could drink. But not until the kids went to bed. I had to be responsible, right? So I did my responsible stuff, but then when they were gone, we would get drunk, we would get high, whatever. It was like, mom didn't care because as long as I was at home and I was safe and the kids were safe, everything was okay. So, I was kind of lucky in that way, but in other ways, I think that's why I don't drink today, because she let me drink so much that I got sick so many times. I really decided that I don't like alcohol and I don't like what it does to me. So hey, look what it did for me. There's a life little lesson right there. So I don't know if she did it that way on purpose, because I don't think it worked that way for everybody. Thankfully, thank God, I did not become so addicted that I fell into that kind of an energy in my lifetime. But I had my issues and my problems. And so the reason why I'm telling this story is because when I was between 17 and 19, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. When I got out of high school, I just said, I don't know. Maybe I'll get into early childhood education because that's what I was good at, right? I had been the neighborhood babysitter since I was 9 years old. And I knew how to take care of kids, I knew how to take care of infants, I knew how to take care of older kids, and I was really great at it. So I thought maybe I'll just end up being a teacher, or I'll do something and I'll take an early childhood education course. So I walked into that early childhood education course. It was an adult school, didn't want to go to college. So I walked in there and I met this woman by the name of Anne. Kind of spelled the same way and everything, Annie and Anne. And Anne was married to a man named John who was from England, and she invited me to her house. And I used to go over there like every Friday night. It was just kind of became my place to go. Annie and I had a lot in common. In fact, at one time she even dated Kat's older brother, but that was a long time ago, because she moved up here to San Jose for a while as well. But at any rate, I would go there every Friday, and one Friday night I got there, and there was a really cute guy there. His name is Paul, and I was immediately smitten. I just knew this was like I was 18 going on 19, and I knew this was the one. Well, he decided I was pretty cute too, because after high school I had released a lot of pounds, and I was really svelte and looking really cute. And he thought, oh, there's a nice body, right? That's probably what 19-year-old guys think about a lot. And Anne and John were a couple years older than me, so they were old enough to drink. They had wine in their house. They had vodka in their house, and they fixed me a drink, and every time I turned around, Paul topped my glass off with more vodka. Well, I got so drunk, I could not drive home. And my mother's rule was, you can stay out all night long, but you have to call me and let me know, because I would rather that you're safe, so that I'm not listening for every single siren and I'm not freaking out and going, where the heck are you? So I called her. And I said, Mom, I'm too drunk. I'm not coming home. And she started screaming at me. Your grandfather just had a stroke. He's in the hospital. He's dying. I need you, and I need you now. And I said, Mom, I'm sorry. I love Grandpa, and I wish I could be there, but I am too drunk. And she goes, you did this on purpose. This is your fault. And she hung up on me.
Oh, whoa.
Didn't make it too appetizing to want to go home, did it? I really kind of felt the energy of, gosh, I don't even know if I want to go there. So when I did get there, I didn't get, when I got home the next morning, my mother wasn't speaking to me. But I finally got her a couple of days later to take me to the hospital to see my grandfather. And he was in a coma. But when I stepped by his bed and I touched his hand and I said, "Grandpa, it's Ann," his eyes fluttered and there he got a little smile on his face. So I knew that he knew it was me. I always adored my Grandpa Morris. He was a wonderful man. He died not too long after that. But I was so thrilled that I had an opportunity to see him. But that leads into, what was one of the biggest regrets, really, that I've ever had. Because I was regretful that I got so drunk that I couldn't drive home. I was regretful that I wasn't there for my mother. But at the time, my mother and I had a really volatile relationship. And at the time, I didn't really care that I wasn't there for her. It's now that I care that I wasn't there for her. It was, 30 years ago when she and I finally became friends again that I realized this. Because we're talking, I was 19, a very long time ago. And, a lot has kind of gone under the bridge since then. But that was just like an experience of time where I was not fully myself. I was lost in my sin. I didn't know which way to go. And so I just followed whatever my peers wanted me to follow. I did whatever anybody wanted me to do, kind of thing. That's when some drug experimentation came into my life. Other things that I refused to do until I was of a legal age, over 18 years old, because in my hyper-responsibility, I felt that I could not do something that could have a consequence, such as going to jail, unless I was old enough to accept that consequence. So I was responsible enough to be aware of this, and I was angry enough to ignore it at the time, but I still feel that that was like a huge thing for me. Always, like whenever I had children around me, whenever I had the responsibility of the kids, there was never any alcohol, at least until they went to bed, right? And even then, I stopped drinking so much by the time I was 19 because I just didn't like it. So that was, that was a big thing. And when my grandfather died, and I cried, and I cried at the funeral, my mother was still angry at me. And it was a hard thing for me to deal with, her saying to me, "You're only crying for yourself. You're not crying because you loved him. You feel sorry for yourself." But you know what? I really kind of realized as I go along in life that when somebody does pass away and we're crying at their memorial, we are crying for ourselves. Why are we crying for ourselves? We're crying for ourselves because we miss them in a physical form. Because we want them here with us. And they are in spirit. But it's not the same when you can't reach out and hold a hand. It's not the same when you can reach over and hug somebody. So yes, Mom, you were right. I was crying for myself. I was crying because I would never get to play with Grandpa Morris again. I was crying because, he wasn't there for me to, he always had the candy jar in his house, to go play, to go get into the candy jar, and the wonderful backyard that he had, and all the things. So you're absolutely right. So between 17 and 19 was a lot of interesting time because it was rebellion as well as responsibility. That's always been who I've been. Spirit has always called me back to myself. I think I remember telling you guys at one time that when I was 7 years old, I told my mother I didn't want to go to temple anymore because God's in you and God's in me, God's in the birds and God's in the trees. That spirit energy, that guidance never left me. Never. It just stayed quiet for a while I went and played rebellious Annie. And rebellious I was. And yet, as I said, responsible. I've been working since the time I was 9 years old. I started babysitting. By the time I was 13, I was buying my own clothes. By the time I was 16, I had my own telephone. When I got out of high school, I might have chosen not to go to college, but I did have a job. I always, always, always had that responsibility. So even in my rebellion, I called myself, I was a bit of an oxymoron, is what I tell everybody. And I really think that what that is that was that bit of spirit that still lives in my heart, and it kept growing and growing and growing. And the more I experienced and the more that I went through, the more I grew, the more I felt good. And in my lifetime, I have been completely ashamed of who I am, even recently. Ashamed of things like not picking up behind myself, or, stupid little things, right? Stupid stuff that doesn't really necessarily mean anything in our lives. I see my friend Paul over here. And that's what I wanted to let go of on my 9999 day, was that stupid stuff.
Yes.
And oh my Lord, was I affirmed with love and joy. Not just from the outside of me, from all you beautiful people, but also on my own inside. My own heart grew and grew and grew that day, just like the Grinch at Christmas. When he saw it, his heart just grew so large. It's really interesting. I mean, for the first time ever at work, I got flowers. I got a gift. Even the sushi chef gave me a free hand roll and wrote "Happy Birthday" in the sriracha sauce. It was like, the day was just like an amazing day, and it was a day of letting go, but it was also a day of, and then when we went out, right? Everywhere we went, we got a discount at the Alcatraz bookstore. We got a discount at the restaurant, got a free dessert. So just having a birthday is awesome, man. It's like. So, here are the things that I wrote to my niece about what I regret and what I would do differently. So I've asked myself that question so many times. What do I regret and what would I do differently? My biggest regret was that I had never learned how to express anger in a manner that was healthy and in a manner that was able to express it without harming other people. In my expressions of anger, I had harmed a lot of people. I harmed my mom. I probably harmed my siblings a lot. I probably harmed a lot of my friends. And I probably have on and off throughout the years, because expressing anger in a good way is not always the easiest thing to do. Especially to learn how to do it in a manner where there's no guilt involved with it, where you are not hating on yourself as well. Because there is no such thing as pure hate. There's always that spark of love. Just like there's there's that little spark that's always there, and somehow I always managed to find that. So my mom and I were on the outs until I was in my mid-30s. So, I regretted that I wasn't there for her when my grandpa was dying. I really do. I regret that probably more than a lot of different things, because I adored my grandfather. I regretted not going to college, and I regretted spending so much time being wasted and not doing things that were constructive and creative. I wish that I had not gotten so drunk that my grandfather had a stroke. But at this point in my life, I don't hold any emotional attachment to any of this stuff. It might seem like I'm a little emotional right now, but just because it's sweet emotion, right? But I don't really hold a lot of... I regret that I had such a low self-esteem that I couldn't be there for people, and that I was not in recognition of my own glory and my own beauty. And I wasn't in recognition of that, of everybody else. Although I was really good at saying, they're so good and I'm not. I was really good at seeing good stuff in other people, but but I don't hold any attachment to this, because I'm so different today. I'm such a different person. I still have those little itty bitty moments. My choir has seen them. But y'all love me through it anyway. And because you know that in my heart, I'm still that love. Thank you for that. I hadn't found the wounds. I wouldn't be able to have healed the wounds that I healed if I hadn't had the experiences that I had, right? So I don't think that I would really do things much differently than what I did, because these were huge lessons in my life. And without them, I don't think I'd be I don't think I'd be standing here talking to you right now. I don't think I would be leading the choir. I don't think I would be doing anything that I am doing today without all of this. So I just wish I'd learned my lessons earlier. You know? Yeah, I think there isn't a soul here that couldn't say the same thing. You know? My uncle used to say to me, "Don't worry, kid, you'll be okay by the time you're 40. When I was 30, he wrote me a letter, sent it to me, and he said, "Hey, don't worry, you made it fast. You're okay now." So I got a 10-year start.
Cool.
But I still have a lot of growing and a lot of changing to do. So the third question that she asked me was, what has life taught me that was not in a book? Well, is there anything life can teach you? Is there anything that's not in a book? I mean, that's what I asked her. I said, but here's what I would like to read to you. Life has taught me that there is always a reason for everything. Every experience that I have had, excuse me, I think I need my water. Jan or somebody or Carolyn, right there. Please. Because now I'm choking up, sorry. Every experience I have had, no matter how harsh, has always led me to a better place in my life and has taught me so many important lessons. Thank you, God, for all of that. Everyone has a choice to learn their lessons and grow. Everyone. Every one of us has a choice. Or to stay on a perpetual carousel and repeat the same patterns again and again. Well, I repeated those patterns for a very long time. I finally hopped off the carousel. I choose to learn the lessons, and because of that, I have a great career, a good job, a loving family. I'm a spiritual minister. I always wanted to be either a minister or a teacher of some sort, and here I am. And I love myself. Something that many of you probably spent a lot of years saying, she'll never be able to say that. But I do, and I love myself, and I'm proud of that. Life has taught me that family is so important, and that I love all my family and friends dearly, very dearly. Love is the key to everything. It's okay to have a bad day, and that does not make you or me a bad person when you have a bad day. That's not what it's about. Having a bad day is about having a day of lessons, right? It's about finding the way to bring the joy. It really works. Love is the key. Love is the key. That might be a life's big lesson as opposed to life's little lesson, but love is the key. And when you can find that love, even if it's a little spark outside yourself that you can kind of bring in, that's what's important. Being true to yourself, standing in your power and having boundaries is not selfish. It is mandatory. Thinking positive thoughts does create positive energy. Life has taught me that I can manifest what I choose, but not the lottery yet. So, Publishers Clearinghouse, I'm still waiting for you, and I am open and receptive and ready. Because why? Because to have that much wealth means this. I have that much more I can give and share, as well as helping myself. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we all had all that green energy, that we could do this and help those wonderful kids that Carolyn is helping, and that we're all going to be helping, and helping out people here in our world.
That's right.
We give so much to so many people outside of our country, which is beautiful. But don't we need to take care of ourselves here at home first? It's kind of like the saying that they say, until you love yourself, you can't really love anybody else, right? So this is a big lesson. Or it's a little lesson, right? These are my life's lessons, little lessons. So I can be happy or miserable, that's up to me. How's that for a little lesson? I've learned that success is in your heart, in how you feel about yourself and your accomplishments. If you walk up to somebody and said, I did this, and they go, whoopee-doo, you can't let that step on you and make you feel less than. Don't ever do that. I remember I had a day like that, and our dear Laura said to me, don't ever let anybody jump on your yippee. So don't let anybody jump on your yippee, folks. Be your yippee. Success is not the size of your bank account. Life has taught me to be myself, and that every choice is just a choice. Not to be judged as good or bad, which goes back to everything happens for a reason. Life has taught me to laugh at myself, and crying is just a release. Laughing is wonderful. Crying is just as wonderful, in my opinion. I cry for joy all the time. I see commercials like those, you know, I remember the old AT&T commercials. Reach out and touch someone. Oh my gosh. I could cry for ages with those things, you know? So crying is just a release. It really is. And sometimes, and that release is so important because you don't want to keep everything bottled up inside of you, right? Life has taught me to not be afraid, to take a chance, and to change. And it's never too late, right? Just make that change. I don't think that I would have anything in my life right now if I had not taken some chances. So life has also taught me to live my dreams. Okay? Life has taught me to live my dreams. And all of you, live your dreams. Gloria, you're a perfect example of that right now. You are living your dreams, baby, and look at all the beautiful things that are pulling together for you. It's wonderful, and I love to watch your successes because I revel in everybody's success and love as I do in my own. We're all here to share that with ourselves, with each other. By the way, when you live your dreams, they often do come true. And maybe not in exactly the way that you dreamed it, and maybe not in exactly the door that you expected to open, but let the door open. Because even if that's not the right door, it might be leading to the right one by you walking through the corridor. It's okay to open up a new door. And I also want you to add that it's never too late, never, to start again. And so I'm very excited to be turning 60 years old on a quadruple 9-day for me, where I could end the life portions of my life that don't serve me and open back up to the new, the love, and the joy. And I hope that all of you can love and be in joy as well.
All right.
Thank you so much. You know, it's just so cool. You know, I mean, anybody who has ever had kids